Here we go. Dolphins are 8-3. They were 8-3 last season. We are in a much better position with the Bills lagging behind 3 games. Jets out of the running pretty much. Patriots dead like a doornail. And so Dolphins are clearly in the best position they've been in a long time in totality. Tied record, but still much better position. So we've got a Commanders game coming up on the road. One of the key things I talked about at the beginning of the year was the offensive line, as you know, but the offensive line and offense operating in possibly bad weather. How would it perform? Because we are a finesse-style team. We attack vertically. We love to throw the football, and weather affects that. Passing the football can be difficult. Just under regular circumstances, you've got to pass rush, you've got to find the receivers, you just got to go through the air, you got weather affecting the ball, trajectory, hands, the whole thing, then the receiver having to catch it. As you can see, sometimes it doesn't always work out. So this game coming up against the Commanders is going to be very, very interesting, and it's a key point for my evaluations in the preseason, this and the Ravens game. But the Dolphins, luckily, have these 2 road games. We've got Titans at home, we've got Jets at home, we've got Dallas at home, and we've got the Bills at home, and it should be great weather for us. So I'm going to get into that coverage later, but I want to deal with some big stuff that's going on right now. I got a slate here is going to be JPP, and it could seem like, okay, he's a 34-year-old guy, but with what we have financially, and you're in the middle of the season, you don't get a better addition than that. So I'm going to go over that along with Jalen Phillips being out and Van Ginkel taking over. I'm going to do some charting and show you how things are going to change. And to me, Van Ginkel is the guy I wanted to play that strong side where Chubb is now until we traded for him. I believe in Van Ginkel a ton. But you can't say that Phillips being out has no effect. It's not going to be here and there. There's some things that Van Ginkel could do a little bit better than JP. It's not like a total this, but in some key areas, the loss of JP is going to be felt. So I'm going to cover all the matchups and the addition of JPP and the loss of JP and Van Ginkel with Agba in there. I'm going to go over, the surgery, his first day of surgery. And it could seem like, okay, he's a 34-year-old guy. But with what we have financially, and you're in the middle of the season, you don't get a better addition than that. So I'm going to go over that along with Jalen Phillips being out and Van Ginkel taking over. I'm going to do some charting and show you how things are going to change. And to me, Van Ginkel is the guy I wanted to play that strong side where Chubb is now until we traded for him. I believe in Van Ginkel a ton. But you can't say that Phillips being out has no effect. It's not going to be here and there. There's some things that Van Ginkel could do a little bit better than JP. It's not like a total this, but in some key areas, the loss of JP is going to be felt. So I'm going to cover all the matchups and the addition of JPP and the loss of JP and Van Ginkel with Agba in there. I'm going to go over the surgery, his first day of surgery. He's starting his recovery, and like a warrior, he says, I'm built for this. I love that guy. I couldn't even watch the Hard Knocks episode. I just couldn't do it. So I'm going to cover that as well. Some funny tweet, just real a cogent and funny tweet around Wilkins, and to show you what this guy is doing for us and what he's doing for his contract next year. I'm going to cover Terron's injury. He's saying he's getting ready to play. McDaniel says it's week to week. I'm going to go over that a little bit. And then Hill. When we signed Hill, I thought, well, this guy's a stud. And then we found out he had some off-season issues. And then I found out about his past. And main part I got was this was a boneheaded move, but I'm praying this guy could become the kind of human being that's better than the football player. And I'm seeing that now. And he's turning from a guy who I really rooted for as a Dolphin and for his talent. But now I'm starting to really root for him as a human being. And I think he's having his biggest season ever this year, not because of what he's doing on the field solely. Obviously on the field, it's amazing. But what he's doing in combo. And this says great things for the future. And I'm so happy. The loss of JP sucked. But seeing a man with that talent become such an amazing human being, it is definitely, I'm not saying it's a done deal, but it really feels great. And then I'm going to go over the media and what I'm trying to do here. I had a great comment. And to me, I love comments that say, hey, I don't agree with you. I love that because that is discourse. It makes me consider what I'm doing. It makes me consider what other people are thinking. And then you grow from that. I love disagreement as long as it's cordial. And it was really a great comment. But I'm going to tie that into the media now. And then lastly, I'm going to go over my little recipe on loosely and how I go about evaluating the offensive line, because I don't think many people understand how to evaluate blocking. And I'm going to go to a very detailed thing at the end because not everybody's into that. But I'm going to go very hot and heavy, hard, in a multifaceted way. I was going to do it a film, but there's a reason for that. It's going to tie into the media. But I'm going to show you the layers of understanding how I do my business. And it's not to say I'm an expert. I'm not. I think I'm a very good amateur. I think I've added analytics, a basket of analytics. Scott, I'm still getting out to you, brother. I just can't get into my email. I've created a basket of analytics to understand blocking, offensive line play, and even created stats that have never been used in analytics. So I do think I know what I'm talking about, but I am no expert. So when I put this stuff together, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what you guys think about how I do it, what I use, and how I interpret that so I can improve on the process and we can get a better evaluation together tomorrow than we had today. Comprende-vous? So I'm going to cut this thing up because it's going to be very, very big. So I'm going to take these parts out and put them out there separately because, not everybody's got all the time in the day to go through this stuff. But it's going to be a long one because there's a lot of juicy topics. And I think the analytics one's going to take a little bit of time. Okay, so let's dig into it. Before I do, though, I want to say the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the views, all that stuff keeps this channel going. So if you're subscribed, hit the notification bell so you can know the monkey's doing his thing. Everything keeps this channel going with all the stuff that you guys do, and I appreciate it, and please keep it up. So I want to give you a shout out, and a shout out to A-Spread, my sponsor, because without the two of you, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. I'm going to start off with Terron. People are saying, we got to get rid of this guy next year. I'm going to read the rule. There is a catch to this rule that is often overlooked. This is called post-June cuts. If we pre-June cut Terron, it's a brutal hit. But you can't get that money for a post-June cut until post-June. The team has to carry a player at his full salary cap charge until June 1st, even though he's been released from his contract. So the dead money split does not occur in March. It does not help the team create cap room for free agents. It simply gives the team more cap space to use during the rookie signing period and to function when the cap accounting expands from 51 players in the full season to the full roster during the season. So guys like Xavier Howard, you can't move them on to post-June. So it's not going to help you sign your free agents and new free agents, but it will help that late free agency signing at the end of the season and getting your 53 ready and signing your rookies. So Terron can't be moved on until 25. Because if you let him go, it's minus 3.4 million thereabouts. And the Dolphins have a hard time right now managing the cap next year. So the boatload of free agents we have, it's not going to help us to get rid of Terron. It's not going to help us to get rid of Howard. So I want to put that out there. Now, Terron, I love him. He's my man. And he's just a great human. He's a great leader, toughest guy around. He comes out and plays. I mean, he was probably dinged up somewhere early in the game, maybe even before, and he played excellent. He gave up some pressures. It wasn't his best game, but it was still a phenomenal game. He's changed this team, but clearly his body is breaking down. And he says he's got to get his beep together this weekend, which shows what an awesome guy is. He's not here to make just the money. He's here to play. He's here to earn his money, and he loves the game and this team. Now, McDaniel said week to week, but we've got to get this guy ready for that Dallas game. We could beat the Commanders, not saying we will. We could beat the Titans, not saying we will. We could beat the Jets, not saying we will, without Terron. But we need him. When you see the Commanders have a very good offensive line, and when you see the pressure that Dallas was able to generate, you want Terron in that Dallas game. So I hope he doesn't play this week. It's going to be a windy day. It might even be a little rainy. We need this guy healthy. I hope he doesn't come back this game. I hope he gets himself ready for that Dallas Ravens and Bills game. That's where the money's going to be made. So I just want to touch on that. Now, we signed JPP. He's 34. He hasn't had a great season in a long time. But this is a big guy. And to get him in there with his experience, playoff experience, everything that this guy's got is phenomenal. Now, he's a big guy, and he can kind of stop the run a bit. And he's kind of like Agba, but I still think he's in a better situation than Agba right now. For some reason, Agba just doesn't feel right in the stand-up. I don't know if he's ever fully recovered from his series of injuries. We'll see, though. This will be an opportunity. But these two guys together can help limit the run game and cause a few plays here and there wrapped around Van Ginkel. Allow Van Ginkel to play a little bit, maybe that middle linebacker where they play the edge. We got Sealer, we've got Wilkins, and we've got Chubb to make the big plays on that line when Van Ginkel plays the middle. And sometimes it's needed because Fangio's system is very much based in two tight defensive linemen and two wide, a five technique D ends, and leaving that inside open while still covering the pass but stopping the run. And Jalen Phillips, he was doing an amazing job in the run and the pass. Now, Van Ginkel, I'm going to show you here. You can see this graphic. You can see Emmanuel Agba, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Van Ginkel. These are PFF. It's just an expedient way. And you can see defense. Van Ginkel is considered 8th best in the league. That's playing two positions. This guy is no slouch in any way, shape, or form. You can see the run defense. Emmanuel Agba's been struggling. I think it's because of the stand-up. Jason Pierre-Paul's only got a couple of plays, so it's a little inflated. It's a little bit less than this when you look at the last couple of years, but he's still not terrible. He's pretty decent. But you can see Van Ginkel's playing excellent in the run, unbelievable in the pass rush and coverage. So playing that outside role and playing that middle linebacker role, he's become very, very comfortable, and he's going to do a lot for us. Now, Agba has done pretty good in the coverage as well. His pass rush isn't terrible, but you got to look to see who he's gone against. But that's not a bad three-person combo when you add in Chubb. I think it's pretty darn good considering you got Wilkins and Sealer. But here's where it's going to change a little bit. So let's take a look at this grouping right here. And you can see what it's going to look like. Van Ginkel, Wilkins, Sealer, and Chubb. That two-eye technique and the three technique, D-tackle, that's inside right there between those guards. And then you're going to see the 5 technique with Van Ginkel and Chubb outside the tackles. And that's what it's going to kind of look like with Baker and Long over the top. But when you had Phillips there, the difference was in clear passing downs. Offenses would slide their protection to the right to cover Phillips because he would get in there so quick. Van Ginkel can get in there. He can make that move. He can use the bull rush. He can push with the hand and do the spin. He's got all kind of, but it's not going to arrive as quick. And so what it's going to allow is, unless Van Ginkel does some explosive stuff, and Chubb does explosive stuff, but Chubb's a little bit slower than Van Ginkel, it's going to allow them to slide the protection to different areas and to limit, say, Chubb a little bit more and Wilkins a little bit more. And it's not going to force them, and it's going to make it a little bit harder on Fangio to get these calls, to dial up the pressure. We've been unbelievable in our pressure as far as the efficiency in the pressure we've generated compared to our blitzes. Now, it's not going to be terrible, but when you're in a 3rd and 10, and you got Jalen Phillips on edge, like at the edge, and you know that guy can burst around the edge or do that spin move to come inside or do the loop inside where he does the swap and switch. He does the stunt to come inside. You've got him on number 1 on your menu, and it's freed up Chubb. And it's freed up Wilkins a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit harder, but thankfully we have the talent to spread it out. And if Van Ginkel can generate enough pass rush and pressure, then maybe it could draw it a little bit more to that side again and free up Chubb and Wilkins as we've seen going forward. But this is a great spot for us to be in with the addition of JPP, with Agba there, who could still rise and grow through the season, and with Van Ginkel getting his opportunity. Now, the problem is his contract is going to be big at the end of the season, and it's going to make it a little bit harder for us to sign him. Now, if you look at Van Ginkel and Phillips, just statistically, you can see the biggest difference is the missed tackle rate. Phillips had a 2.8% missed tackle rate. His tackling is a very underrated aspect of his game, but it's been 15% with Van Ginkel. And he's always kind of had a little problem with his tackling, but I think it's been accentuated because he's been playing middle linebacker a little bit. I don't think it's this bad. I think at the edge he's a little bit better, but it's always kind of been a little shaky. And so those missed tackles are going to be key. If he can fix that, it's going to go a long way. Now you look at the stops, 22 for Phillips, 19 for Van Ginkel, but Van Ginkel hasn't been injured. It's the proportions are a little bit different because Jalen Phillips missed a couple of those games. But Van Ginkel is no slouch again. Sacks, 7-4. Again, Phillips missed a bunch of games, but he was on a wild tear after his oblique injury, and he got better. So Van Ginkel is a great backup to be starter, and he will be a starter someplace. I don't know if it's going to be here, but this year he's going to be our starter, and it's great to see this kid get his shot, but there is going to be some kind of a little bit of letdown in certain key areas, but is going to be equal value and a little bit higher in some other areas because Van Ginkel is a little bit more physical by nature than Phillips, although Phillips has been doing phenomenal. Now, Phillips had like I said, he had his little injury start today. I love to hear Aaron Rodgers say he contacted him and he's going to be a source for his doctors and their healing. Dan Marino had the Achilles injury. There's a lot of resources for him. And somebody pointed, I can't remember who it was, a great tweet, how I remember when Wake at like 33 years old destroyed his Achilles, and I was like, that's it. But he came back the next year and had a phenomenal season. I like Al from 3 yards per carry. We disagree sometimes. Even sometimes we bang heads. But he's a man. I'm a man. I think this guy is a good guy. I think he knows the game. I think he's a little bit of a fan. But I think he's one of my favorite guys out there because there's always going to be disagreements. But when you can disagree with somebody and still continue a relationship and continue to talk, that's what it's all about. Sometimes I learn in the disagreements. I'm hoping sometimes he does. But this guy is a guy who's been doing it a long time. He talks to the players. He's got a great show, 3 yards per carry. He's got a great cast over there. Check them out. But he hits it really hard, really fast sometimes. And I would never want to get into a Twitter duel with him because his tongue on the typing thing is sharp. And sometimes, when I catch some of his tweets, they're just so cogent. And you're going to see right here his little take on Wilkins. And it's going to show you what this guy is doing for us now compared to the guys who got the big signings last year and what he's looking to get this year. Wilkins, 6.5 sacks, 20 pressures, 16 QB hits, 8 tackles for loss, 2 missed tackles. Quinnen Williams, 2 sacks, 18 pressures, 12 QB hits, 7 tackles for loss, and 5 missed tackles. Simmons, 5.5 sacks, 17 pressures, 11 QB hits, 10 tackles for loss, and 3 missed tackles. 2 of these guys got paid, pay the other. And that's really it. Look what this guy is doing this year now that he's got a secondary that can actually cover. And I think you're going to see him have the highest production level out of all 3 of these guys. And he's going to get a mega contract, whether it's here or someplace else. Wilkins is doing unbelievable for us, guys. And he is coming into his own, and he's a guy he's not going to get his contract and not perform. He's never not performed. He's never not coming 1,000%. Wilkins is doing unbelievable, and I didn't know that, what he had here. And sometimes Twitter, it really pisses me off. Sorry for my French. But other times, I really love it because you get great information like this. So, guys, we could tag Wilkins, but if he comes up at the top of the charts and we tag him, he's going to be very upset. I think he's going to hold out, and I think he should. Now, the last part, before I get into the media part and then the offensive line thing, which is going to be big, Hill, guy's all-world talent. And I had prayed after this last incident that he would figure out that, you know what, football comes and it goes. Like Achilles, like Osmandius, glory is fleeting. But what you do to other people, how you live with honor and class and dignity, that lasts forever. And I saw this tweet, Ty Hill, church was amazing today. Now, this has nothing to do whether you believe in Christianity, you don't believe in. It's not about that. When you got a guy who is conservative in his lifestyle, and he's playing a crazy sport like this. He just got married. You see him showing pictures of his wife. When that life gets conservative at home, that means he's taking care of himself. He's got his priorities in order. You don't have to worry about this off-field stuff. And what he's doing on the field attaches to what he loves off the field, and you can get the best production on the field, but then you got a guy that you can love and root for. And I know they're not our heroes. They're just this, but we know that when we all grew up, there was some guys you looked at, Don Shula, Larry Zonka, guys that were just what you wanted to be as a man and how that attached to your heart and made this game greater than just a bunch of guys banging their heads. And so I am so happy for this guy, and I truly want him to do well. And I love redemption stories. I am a redemption story, and I am loving this. And this is great news. Now, let's get into the last 2 topics. Deadspin. Deadspin is such trash. Anybody who reads Deadspin is dead from the neck up, I think. They have done such a terrible job over the years. They took this kid who had like a Native American dress on at a Chiefs game, and they showed him to the side where his face was black. And they said, look at him, he's wearing blackface. But the other side was red. He was just splitting it up. But they purposely deceived because they had an agenda. Because there is an agenda with modern journalism that has nothing to do with truth. Now, SI, Sports Illustrated, remember how great they were, when you were a kid 20, 30 years ago? They got caught using AI writing their articles. And it's so pathetic. But this is what it's all about today, guys. And sad. It's sad. And this is going to tie into what I'm trying to do here. William Kelly put a comment up. It's a great comment. And it's so fair. And I'm going to read it here because I understand it. Love the analysis, but you always start so negative towards the Dolphins and so positive against every other opponent. And I know in this hopium pimp media, this flag-waving, cheerleading media of body positivity and safe spaces, it's all about clicks. And it's all about staying positive. It's not about actually giving you real information. Now, when I do another team, that's not my team. That's not my fan base. And I don't always do lots of things for them. So I have to kind of lend towards the positive. When I cover them, I try to tell them hard stuff. As the Bills, for example, I cover them the most. I told them Dorsey, called him Shaky Bones, said he sucked. I said Dable was not good for them. I said the offensive system wasn't right for them. So I present hard stuff, but because they're not a regular fan base, they're not my fan base, I have to be positive, more positive than I am with the Dolphins. Now, you could say maybe I'm not positive, and I get that, but when everyone's saying Fangio sucked, I said he wasn't. When Eagles were coming up, I said, if we lose, it's not that big a deal. Even KC, we got to beat Patriots and the Jets. Last year, when Tua went down against Cincy, I said, you know what? I was so proud of my team. People were like, how can you not talk just about Tua? I said, well, he'll be back, but these guys played great. And then we had the nice string of victories. Then we lost the Bills. Everybody said the season was done. I said, no, it's not. It's that last game of the year against the Jets that's going to count. And then we went on a string of losses, and I kept saying the same thing. And you go back to 21, I kind of say the same. I try to play the middle of the road, as I told William Kelly, because it's never as good as the media presents, and it's never as bad as the media presents. They do extremes because they don't, for the most part, a lot of these big-type guys don't have the acumen to actually talk football. And what I want to do here is, because there's a huge chorus of voices that just say stuff that they're not really too sure about, but they know if they talk positive, they'll get your attention. I want to talk real football. I want to come at it as if I am a coach, because wounds from a friend can be trusted and an enemy multiplies kisses. So I go into it with legit concerns, and I try to present it from that standpoint. But I usually say I'm pretty accurate on our wins and losses. So I have a tendency to pull down because the rest of the media is pulling the fan base so high, and that's what they do. They bring you sky high, and then when you drop, they beat you on the way down. They pump you up and beat you on the way down. So I try to, if we're too low, pull us up. If we're too high, pull us down, because that's usually where the truth is at. Got it? All right, so let's get into offensive line. Now, this is the kind of media you get these days. Kudos to Greer, McDaniel, Barry, Butch scouts, Tua's quick release, and these players for turning an enormous weakness a couple of years ago into a strength. Miami has allowed the 3 fewest sacks, 18, despite a flurries of injuries. Well, that's a stat. How has that come about? What's the context? Clearly, McDaniel deserves kudos. Tua's quick release deserves a lot of kudos. Hill and Waddle deserve lots of kudos. Does the offensive line. Now, you can see Joe Shad here, and I'm not trying to slander these guys because you can't criticize somebody. I can be criticized, but that's not slander. But I am dealing with the information. These guys are great in certain areas, but it's clear that the offensive line and blocking is maybe not their specialty. So you can see PFF shows you snaps, pressures, blah, 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 blah. And you use PFF, but you only pick and choose the ones that you want. And so I'm going to show you how I go about a review, and you're going to see it's holistic, and it shows the basket of stuff here. Now, let's go. How did we arrive at those pressures? How do we arrive at those sacks? And what did the Jets do and we do? And let's deal with how I evaluate. And maybe you can pull some of the stuff in your own evaluations. Now, if you look at this graphic here, you can see dropbacks, attempts, completions, completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdown, and ints. Now, those two ints kind of, you could say, oh, well, they were at the end of the game or whatever. Maybe you want. Still, we only got one touchdown, 243 yards against a Jets defense. It's good, but it's not like it has weaknesses, and it was on the field all day. And you're going to understand the context to what's going on with this defense and how we're able to do what we did. Now, so you had only 243 yards. You only had one touchdown. Nice completion percentage. But you had batted balls, seen the little red box, 3. You had thrown away passes, 2. So that's 5 passes beyond the 4 defensive pressures and the 2 sacks. So that is a total of 7 plays that were disrupted by the defense, with 2 extra that were negatively induced with the 2 extra pressures, if you know what I'm saying. Now, look at the blue box over here. Depth. Look at 43% of our passes were 9 yards and less. Behind a line of scrimmage, 26.7. That is an anomaly. We do not throw the football like that. We changed what we did in a big way. But this says McDaniel's doing a great job. He game planned excellently. Okay? When you throw that short, and you'll see how quick we threw, you'll understand that there was no way, especially considering how they attacked us, that this Jets defense of line could have put any more pressure than it did. Now, you'll see the purple box to the bottom left, RPP, that's my stats, rushers per pass, 4.2. They brought 4.2 rushers on every play. Our blockers per pass was 5.8. We had 1.5 or so blockers extra to their rushers. So we had plenty of guys to help mitigate this 4-man rush. We were only blitzed 4 times. We threw 7 screens. Out of those 30 attempts, we only really threw the ball where there could be pressure 23 times. And of those 23 times, there was 4 blitzes. Now, and we threw it short within that. Okay? Now, look at this next-gen stat. Mac Jones threw 208. Okay? That was the fastest that week. We were second at 2.17. But again, our intended air yards was 5.1. That's extraordinarily low for us. But look, 2.17. Then you go to Boyle, New York Jets, 236. And then it goes right to 2.5. Most of the league throws 2.5. If you look at a stat from a couple of weeks ago, all our pressure, the majority of it comes at 2.5 or better. So you can see clearly the short game designed by McDaniel, his ability to throw, his decision to throw lots of screens, it mitigated the Jets' any ability to really get after us with 4 guys. But it was the quick release, the speed of Hill, the speed of Waddle, the release of Tua that again generated the protection. Now, you can see people, there's a whole thing coming out now, and it's this. Just say sorry to Austin Jackson, I have. And then you'll get this too, which is really funny. It's the apology form, Austin Jackson apology form. We didn't get one this week from some of these guys, but we got it from Eichenberg. Now, Eichenberg didn't play poorly, but who did he go against? What did he have to deal with? We saw how quick the game was. We saw how little extra pressure they brought. But look inside. Jets are terrible in run defense. They don't have good pressure inside unless Quinnen Williams is inside, and he was spent a lot of time on the edge. You got Quentin Jefferson, 102nd tackle in the league, and then Solomon Thomas, the 123rd. These are the guys that Eichenberg saw a lot of the day. It's not to say he sucks, because he did beat these guys, but these guys are not that much. But yet again, remember, this defense, they are now, for the season, they had 57 plays on offense, and their opponents have 67. That means 10 more plays this defense has experienced than the offense. So you go over 12 games, 120 extra plays. That's like an extra game and a half. And this defense was on the field. I think they ended up with, I forgot, it was 59 plays on offense, but a lot of those 59 plays came at the tail end of the game. They had like 40 plays up until late in the fourth quarter, and if you notice, we put most of our points on in the fourth quarter. McDaniel again dialed up the run, kept attacking, kept them from really being able to get to us with the screen plays, the short game, the quick game. It's about outsmarting them, physically beating them up, so they died in the end in the fourth quarter. This was not about blocking. It was about good coaching. It was about Tua, Hill, and the release. Now, Austin Jackson, every week, Austin Jackson's playing awesome. He's done pretty good at times. But why don't we ever hear the same people who say he did pretty good when he doesn't do good, they mention him? And that's what I say about some of this funny stuff about, Austin Jackson, because they pick and choose the positivity. The Hopium pimps decide that this week, well, Eichenberg good this week. We'll talk about Eichenberg and not even talk about Jackson. This was the premium stats from PFF. You saw the mention of PFF about the lack of pressure and sacks and whatever else, but none of this is mentioned. Take a look here. Austin Jackson, true pass sets. That's when he had a block on his own, 23.4. His efficiency rating when true pressure is allowed was 85.7. And I find it funny that no one of these guys ever seemed to mention efficiency rating until I started mentioning it early in the year. And now they take the one when it's a good efficiency rating, they put it up there and mention it. But they have no clue how that comes about and what that means. Really, the efficiency rating is a macro stat over the course of the game. You really can only use it towards the end of the season as a macro concept. You can't just use it for a game. But if you're going to use it when it's not good as well. But they don't seem to that. His whole game efficiency rating was 96.9, which is low. Notice the talk about Austin Jackson is low this week, and it's all about Eichenberg, and that's what they're going to do. It's not to say he sucks. It's to paint a real evaluation, guys. So there's a lot more I wanted to do with this, but Next Gen Stats didn't put up the charts for the Dolphins this weekend. It was weird. I would have added a Phillips, but I don't know how many people are really going to be interested. But you have to understand context. The offensive line did its job, given the job it was given, which was very simple. It was simplified by Tua's release, Hill's speed, Waddle's speed, and McDaniel's choices to run the football, to run screens, and run short. But the media won't tell you that because we got AI-driven information, and we've got hopium, a lot of hopium guys out there. And it's kind of sad. And so I'm going to do something different here. This is what I do to try to give you guys real information. So I hope you understand. Dolphins are in a great spot, but it's not perfect. There are flaws, but there is great stuff too. But you've got to evaluate it properly, or at the end of the season, if something doesn't go right, you're going to blame the wrong people. And you go, what happened? Tua should not get any blame this season from what we've seen. Maybe he'll get it towards the end of the season. McDaniel, why don't we run on 4th and short? What did I say at the beginning of the year? Running inside was going to be a concern because we didn't have the talent. Context is key. The key to the season is going to be this offensive line, how it deals with one-on-one matchups in short rundown situations, in bad weather, and against good defenses. That's where it's at. Because if the offensive line's awesome, as all these hopium pimps are saying, and Tua's as awesome as they're saying, and Hill and Waddle and McDaniel's awesome as saying, then why aren't we destroying these teams? Something's got to be wrong that we struggle against these better defenses. And it's not McDaniel for the most part. It's not Tua for the most part. Certainly not Hill, aside from a drop here or a fumble. And it's certainly not Waddle, except for occasional drop here. It's the offensive line curtailing what we want to do. But we've been able to overcome. And hopefully Terron gets back, Connor and Hunt, and we can get those three guys in there, and then you can see this offensive line not be such a deleterious effect on this offense. Anyway, guys, went on a while, but I want the truth to get to you. Truth is not simple. It's not a one-sentence thing, except sometimes if you're like Alf and you can nail it on certain concepts. But football is very difficult to understand, and I'm trying to do that here. So anyway, Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. Go Phins. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.